Marriage is an achievement, and on the flip side of that, marriage is not an achievement. I am not trying to contradict what I said, the sentence I made at first, but this is me trying to tell you that there's a school of thought that believes that marriage is an achievement. There's another school of thought that believes that that's total garbage, that marriage is not an achievement. You guys all know that this is not usually what I do. I'm all about the gists, I do the trending stories and all. But uh, in the past few days, two very striking things have trended on the internet that caught my attention that made me to decide to want to do this. First, Zuby Ojiakor's wedding is still trending. She got married, I think, the Saturday that passed. And then also around that time, there's this girl also, one Muslim lady that did a video on TikTok that have sparked a lot of reactions. Now, for Zuby's wedding, she's overly overjoyed. I don't know if that's tautology. She's excited, extremely excited about her wedding and all. She danced almost all through. In fact, there was a point when she was showing people, did you see the ring? And decoration people were already packing up in one of the videos I saw, and she was still dancing. So a lot of persons have been dragging her. Why is she this happy? And then this other girl came too. She is on TikTok. She's a 200 level student. Probably it's still a teenager in her early 20s, and then after one of the classes, she learned in that class that the marriage on the act, if your husband attempts to take a second wife, he can actually go to jail for 7 years. And now that she knows her right, what will she even do? Because she's a Muslim, and then according to the Islamic law, polygamy is actually permitted. So you see these two stories, they have sparked a lot of reactions on the net. A lot of people are talking. Social media is on fire because of it right now. So I want to bring in that concept here. And also, first of all, we'll dive into different continents and what they think about marriage. And then we'll eventually, at the end of this video, talk about why some people view it as an achievement, why another school of thought also think it is not an achievement. So in all the continents of the world, right? Asia and Africa, like Asia and Africa, there are those continents that believe in polygamy. And the Asia polygamy belief is because they are mostly Islam, right? And also in Africa, it is customary that a man can take as many wives as he wants. And also the Islamic religion also support a good number of wives to one man, right? So, but the other parts of the world, like Europe, North America, South America, polygamy is prohibited. But in as much as our in as much as our customs and traditions and also some of the religious bodies in these places support polygamy, the national law still does not support it. So that is why you see that this lady on TikTok would read that it is not allowed, that is prohibited, and the man can go to jail for 7 years, right? So these countries within this continent I have mentioned, in Africa and in Asia, there's a lot of polygamy ongoing. Like I, for one, my mom is not even my father's first wife. I'm African, and it used to happen maybe about a decade ago. It was very rampant. Maybe some 30 years, 40 years ago, it was still rampant. But these days, you're beginning to see that a lot of ladies are beginning to rise up and say, no, I cannot share my man and all. And it has caused a lot of controversy in our society of today. Now, for Zuby Ojiakor's wedding, she was dragged. She's even still being dragged as we speak. A lot of people are doing videos regarding her issue. Why is she dancing and saying, "Are you seeing my ring? Can you see my ring? Can you see my ring?" And all. Why is she this happy? Did she not know she was going to get married before? How old is she even? Because a lot of persons are beginning to go and Google her age. In fact, they dragged her regarding the age thing so much that I had to go and Google her age. And that lady is just a 30-year-old lady. And I don't think 30 years is that old. You know, if they are going to say it's about age, I personally feel it's just her personality, and then that's it. And then this other lady on TikTok, uh, she is a Muslim. Obviously, her religion supports polygamy. And if we want to actually investigate, there's a chance that her mother is not even her father's first wife. There's that possibility that the mother is not the father's first wife. And then she now have come to realize that under marriage under act, you can't actually do that. Right. And then people in the comment sections are like, you're a Muslim and then you're talking like this. And that person say, keep talking. By the time you're done talking, you still end up as a fourth wife of that man. And then people feel like, oh, you're still young, you still don't understand. And it is on that basis they are dragging her. And if you've seen the videos that she did after that, I've seen like two or three videos she has done after that. The girl simply doesn't even care. She's still there cruising. In fact, she's excited that she's now gone viral and she now has followers. Possibly she's someone that have struggled with followers on TikTok, and then boom, this one video that she didn't even have that much expectation in gave her the kind of traffic she's looking for. That girl is just catching her cruise. So, to the school of thought that thinks marriage is an achievement, no, this is my own idea about it. A number of factors affect and influence that particular school of thought. And in my own understanding, two out of those many factors stand out. One, what the person was exposed to as a child growing up. And then two, the environment obviously the person grew up in. Okay, why I say that is, first of all, what the person was exposed to as a child. There was a video I did some time ago, and then I talked about a lot of things happening in people's adult life. This is both men and women. And then most of the times, 80 to 90% of the times, you can trace what is happening now to the kind of childhood they had. I'll be dropping the link of that video in the description box so you can see. So now, if this person is saying marriage is an achievement, you don't know the environment the person was exposed to. Maybe the person was exposed to an environment where the woman so treasured her husband, the whole of her life was wrapped around that man, and possibly it seemed to have worked very well for the woman. Like the marriage really worked for them. And then this is also to the guys, but most of the times when they say marriage is an achievement, they are talking about the women, right? Because they feel like we treasure marriage more than men and all. So maybe this person grew up in an environment where there's this harmony and it really worked for the both parties, and then most especially the women who just want to get married, have this beautiful relationship, have this beautiful kids, and then enjoy this experience he or she have seen growing up. And another thing again, environment the person grew up in, much more than what the person was exposed to as a child. The environment could have happened as a result of maybe childhood experience, just like I earlier explained, but it also can be that where the person grew up in, it's not maybe necessarily not the person's home, right? Like in Africa, especially, the mostly in our environment, what you hear is a woman is mostly nothing until she has another surname to her name that is not her father's name, right? So, in environments like that, you find women wanting to really prove a point by getting married, and they mostly say every woman's education end up in the kitchen. Every woman belongs to the kitchen. So there's this incompleteness on the inside, and it is so funny that sometimes people don't even respect you when you're not yet married. When you're not married, they feel like there's something still missing in your life. You're still not a complete person. Possibly not a responsible person. And to add to that, if you're now educated, you've had your first, second, third degree, they will say she's not submissive. That's the reason why she's not married. And then that tends to attract more of the disrespect from the environment. So when women find themselves in an environment like that, and then when they grew up to see things like this, so both what they went through as children, seeing something walk around them, or seeing people feed them all these things, saying it is an achievement. If you don't have it, you're not complete. Of course, that person will want to get married, and that person will see marriage as an achievement. And then a bonus point to why people sometimes think marriage as an achievement is the fact that some people, like some women, to be specific now, this is specifically for women, they are just there waiting for the man that will marry them. They mostly don't have a dream for themselves. They don't have maybe a skill, they don't have a life, to be more general, no skill, no business, no work, they are not properly schooled. So the only thing that will give them value is the fact that they are under a man, you know, that somehow that's the only thing that gives them joy. And you don't blame people like that. And sometimes you find out that this kind of experiences work for them very well. So it's not even something you fault somebody for. Sometimes it just works for them. So when people like that are talking about marriage being an achievement, I don't think we have any business trying to tell them it is not. For the school of thought that says marriage is not an achievement, and there are a few factors to that, and I'm going to be mentioning a few of them. One, the environment again, like I said again on the flip side. And then two, what the person was also exposed to as a child. Now, be patient with me and hear what I want to say now. Maybe there's this child that grew up in an environment where he or she saw how much marriage made his or her parents miserable. They made a mess of themselves on the altar of them wanting to remain in that marriage. And then, of course, when the offside of marriage happens, it is mostly detrimental to the both of them. But when you check very well, one party is more affected. Is it that a woman is more affected or the man is more affected? Those ones grow up to say, why are you telling me marriage is an achievement when my mother was constantly abused emotionally, physically, and otherwise by my dad, especially the ladies? It is not an achievement. I watched my mother do this thing. She did it and it did not work for her. And possibly some of them are still currently doing it because there are people all over the world with parents whose marriages are not working. So my mom did that and it did not work for her. So why are you telling me marriage is an achievement? Or my dad did it, my mom is not that woman, and then she is still a trouble for him till date. So why are you telling me that it is an achievement? So that's one. And then on a second note, again, the environment. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this video that in the Asia and the Africa continent, they mostly believe in polygamy, except for the some of the national laws and all. Maybe Christianity religion also believes in monogamy. So now, in other countries where it is highly prohibited, women don't even see marriage as anything. They simply don't care. If you go to some countries now and you're talking marriage, they don't even want to hear what you have to say. In fact, you can find people who will live together and be lifelong partners, especially in countries like UK. And their lifelong partners have their children. The children take up the surname from both the mother and from the father, and they live their lives happily ever after, and they never have to get married, and their partners and they are comfortable. But you will rarely find that in Africa, where you won't find the both families beginning to grumble, oh, you guys have lived together. In fact, it is a taboo in the first place for people to go and live together with themselves without having the rights done. But you see in other countries that it is normal. You can decide to live together and then become lifelong partners without ever having to get married, right? Like we see what Rihanna and Rocky are doing. They are partners. They are not married, at least not yet. So when you find occasions like that, and another note, growing up as a child, this is to add again to the school of thought that say it is not an achievement. The first thing on a child's mind matters a lot apart from the environment. Like for me, I can say when I was growing up, the first thing on my mind was I wanted to be a medical doctor. So that was the first love in my heart. It wasn't who I'll marry, what kind of children I will have. In fact, in when I was in SS1, I eventually had to change. Okay, I've seen a lot of admissions not being granted, and I don't want to stay up to 5 years after graduating from secondary school and I've not gone to the university. Okay, let me choose this particular course that is health related. That way, I still stay within the healthcare profession. And then I chose that, and thank God, to the glory of God, it worked out for me, right? So I believe with this few points of mine, you now see why marriage is an achievement to some and it is not an achievement to some. And I honestly don't even think any of the parties are wrong. It all depends on, of course, again, what the person was exposed to as a child, and the environment the person grew up in, and of course, the first dream the child has in mind. Because your child wants to get married, they are looking at family life, they love it already. There's nothing you tell that person that the person won't believe marriage is an achievement. But for somebody like me that have always had a passion and love for my career, I'll tell you that it is a good thing and I want to have it. I will definitely have it someday, but it is not an achievement. It is not what I call an achievement, because I can be married without having my life together the way I want it and still be miserable in that marriage. No matter how happy I am, I want to do something for myself. I want to be known for something. So a beautiful community is what I am growing around here. So I'd love for you to be a part of it. Of course, if you want to be a part of it, so do well to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and whenever I upload the next video, you definitely get notified. Cheers and have a nice day. See you in my next video.